The Cloudcast is sponsored by Intel Cloud for All, driving the creation of tens of thousands of clouds.
Cloudcast Media presents from the massive studios in Raleigh, North Carolina. This is the Cloudcast with Aaron Delp and Brian Gracely, bringing you the best of cloud computing from around the world.
Good morning, good evening, wherever you are, and welcome back to the Cloudcast, coming to you live from the massive studios here in Raleigh, North Carolina. Aaron, how are you doing today?
Good. Yeah, the studios are still here. They almost blew away yesterday. We had heavy storms and some potential tornadoes go through yesterday, but survived.
Yeah, no, it's good. Everybody's safe. I got back from Vegas before they came in, so that was good. Listen, we've always said, the core reason we ever started this show was because we wanted to learn new stuff. We wanted to learn, what the cool stuff was out there. So it's always kind of been the basis. Tonight, we're actually going to get back to the absolute core of what we used to do. And being that you are our chief certification correspondent, this is going to come in handy as well. So we haven't talked about certifications in a long time, but you are the chief king of certifications.
Yeah, and I've already said I want to go do this.
Yeah.
So we'll say what it is here in a second.
Yeah. So this is going to be a fun show, and for anybody who listens, you guys will all like this stuff. You are all going to want to go out and do this stuff. So really excited. A couple of guys from a company called A Cloud Guru. So Ryan Kroonenburg and Anthony Stanley, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Hi, everyone.
Hi, thanks.
So, I'll give folks a little bit of background. I used to follow Ant on Twitter. He changed jobs and started talking about this thing called a cloud guru. And I was like, all right, I got to go figure out what this is. We'll put the URL in the show notes. But guys, give us a little bit of your background and what it does, because for anybody who is asking themselves, what do I want to do next with my career? How do I get better at my skills? What in the world's going on with Amazon Web Services? You're going to love what these guys do.
Yeah, I think I'll leave that to Ryan, because he's the guy who kind of kicked this all off. So I don't know, Ryan, give it a go.
Yeah, sure. So believe it or not, I actually, I got into IT formally in around 2009. I used to be an immigration lawyer, and I used to help people migrate to Australia, Canada, and New Zealand. But when the credit crunch came, the house prices of the house price market fell out in the UK, so nobody could sell their houses, so nobody could then migrate to these countries. So suddenly I was without a job, and I went back to night school and I did a whole bunch of IT certifications, so like MCSE, CCNA, etc. And I became sort of certification hot, and off the back of those certifications I managed to get a job at Rackspace. First as a systems administrator, but then I was promoted to a solutions architect within 10 months, which was actually quite fast for Rackspace's sort of standards. So I've always been really passionate about cloud. I was with Rackspace, during the very sort of inception of public cloud as a solutions architect, and I was a specialist in the area. And then I left Rackspace a couple of years later. I wanted to work on more enterprise-sized deals with companies that target the enterprise market, and I ended up at SunGuard Availability Systems, which is where I met Ant, and I was there for 2 years. And while I was there, I became obsessed with Amazon Web Services, and I started, just studying their certifications, and at the end of last year, basically in January the 9th of 2015, I launched a course on a platform called Udemy, which is around the Certified Solutions Architect Associate course. And it started off slow at first, I think within the first week I only had 100 students sign up, and most of those were free. But then it started going really viral. And then, within 1 year, we managed to get up to, I think we're at 45,000 students now across both the Udemy platform and the A Cloud Guru platform. So that's sort of been my rise to coming into AWS and teaching the AWS certifications.
Yeah. Very nice. And so let's talk about A Cloud Guru specifically then. What does the site offer, and what can folks that want to learn more about this, what can they expect from the training courses?
Yeah, sure. So I guess one of the advantages, or one of the things I've always wanted to promote is an explain it like I'm five mentality. So when I was getting into IT, I was always getting sort of bamboozled by all the different acronyms and all the different, linguistics behind it. What does deduplication actually mean, et cetera. So with the way we've developed these courses is we try and teach you, we teach as if you don't know anything about IT. So we literally start you from the start, and we'll teach you everything about, cloud. So in terms of the A Cloud Guru platform, we teach not just the AWS certifications themselves, but just general aspects of AWS. So we have courses on like Lambda, we have courses on code deploy, etc. So we have a variety of different courses, but we really do try and start off with the basics, and then we deep dive into very particular, subject matters.
So, a couple of things. So I signed up for this. Actually, I signed up for it earlier today because I knew we were talking to you guys, but I've been kind of looking at it. A couple of the things that jumped out at me that I really liked about it. So a lot of times you'll take these courses, I'm just sort of saying generally, and they're a little bit like that joke that goes around sometimes where they, somebody will go, okay, this is how you draw an owl. First you draw two circles, and then the next picture is, a fully drawn out owl with shading and feathers and all these sort of things. You guys lay out in a really nice amount of detail, very much step by step. So exactly like you said, start with, I'm not going to make any assumptions about where you are today. You may be really technical and you can look at the agenda of what's in the training. You could probably skip ahead to it. But if you don't really know anything, you can start at the beginning. And then the other thing I really like is it's not, the other thing that happens in a lot of these things is they only go so deep. So they're going to help you get to, that first level of training, first level of certification. You guys then go into, the very 301, 401 level stuff that's available from Amazon. Like you said, Lambda, DevOps, containers, the stuff that everybody's really interested in, but, requires a little more depth. Yeah, talk about how, your example of saying like, look, 5-6 years ago, I didn't know anything about this stuff. It took me 10, like, how do you go about learning this stuff so quickly and then turning it into stuff you can teach other people?
Yeah, so I guess I'm a certification junkie myself, so I would always go out and try and get all the different certs. As a solutions architect, you've got to, your job is to be technical, but then also to, to basically communicate the different sort of value propositions of different technologies to a non-technical audience. So I think that really put me in a good position where, because I've never taught anything before, but that sort of, it came with the job of being a solutions architect anyway. So I'd actually been teaching CTOs and CIOs, or talking at their level as opposed to talking at a SysOps or systems administrator level, on a sort of deep technical perspective. So, I just sort of stumbled into it, to be honest. It's it's all been a bit of an accident, but it's been lots of fun, and I really enjoy it. I really love teaching cloud. I really love helping people to develop their careers. One of my sort of passions about this is one of the main reasons I got into it is when I was trying to get certified myself in Amazon. The company that I worked for had a spending freeze on training. So any sort of training that we undertook, we had to pay for out of our own pocket. And to get certified this time, 12 months ago, you were looking at around £1,200 to £1,500 per associate level course. Now, if you were to get all 5 certificates, it's going to be the equivalent of £5,000-6,000 at least. And that's sort of like the cost of 1 year's tuition at university. So one of the things I've been really passionate about is to try and bring this in at a very affordable rate. And, at the moment on the platform, we charge, I think it's around $29 for our associate certification. So, the price has dropped from £1,500 this time last year to $29, US dollars this year. So that's one of the things I'm sort of really passionate about, is to basically evangelize cloud and to teach it to as many people as possible for the cheapest price as possible.
Yeah, and it's so that again, as somebody who at least once upon a time shared your certification passion, I admit I'm kind of a reformed certification junkie at this point. What's really interesting about certifications, kind of as an industry, is how they've evolved, because a lot of the vendor certifications went through this phase where, without naming names, a lot of the big ones that have turned it into a complete side revenue business of you had to take their class and you had to take their tests, and there was a very high bar of entry to the thousands of pounds or dollars just to get this kind of certification. And it basically was just driving an entire industry that way, as opposed to the certifications now have seemed to be a much lower bar of entry, where it is how much time can you put in and how efficient can you be in that time. And so I find this really fascinating in the fact that, this wasn't possible, I'd say a few years ago, without a doubt. Yeah. So Ryan, you mentioned in the introduction video that you've trained, probably in the neighborhood of 30,000 people on AWS in the last year or the last couple of years, and then you just mentioned probably 45,000 or thereabouts between the multiple platforms, and you probably expect to reach I'd say 100,000 folks this year. So this means a lot of people are using this platform, and you're potentially guiding a lot of folks there, which is great. But then there's also the flip side of that. You get a lot of feedback. So tell us a little bit about feedback you've received. Things people want to add. Everyone's got an opinion, right? And so tell us a little bit about that portion of it.
I mean, it's insane. I probably get, 100 LinkedIn requests a day at the moment. Then I get all the LinkedIn emails. Then I get emails on Udemy itself. We have our own discussion forums. Then we have our own emails on our own platform. So I don't know, Anthony, do you want to talk a little bit about Intercom and how we handle it?
Yeah, I think the feedback bits is quite interesting. The vast majority is quite positive, but it is, I think, Ryan sees a lot of it. People continually want to try and stump us as well. They're kind of forever trying to pick out problems and errors, and which is actually quite painful, particularly with the pace that AWS innovates. So we had a situation where I think AWS released a new tier of storage on S3, and Ryan hadn't updated those lectures within a week of the announcement, but it actually invalidated a lot of the stuff, the previous lectures around S3, because a new tier of storage was a better answer to some of the questions. So we're actually getting forum posts and people saying, well, this is now wrong. And we're going, well, this new tier of storage has only been out for a week. We're not going to be able to update this stuff. So I know our students set a very high bar and very high expectation from us, but yeah, it is interesting. You just got to be nice most of the time. And the majority of the feedback is positive, thankfully. So
yeah, I think it's also human nature. I mean, I remember when I was a student, I always wanted to question my professors and see if I could, stump them. And that works fine in a classroom environment of 30. But when you start scaling so that you've got 40,000 students, which is 40,000 students is what most universities would have in an entire year, and they've only got the one tutor. It starts becoming a little bit problematic, but we try and deal with it as best as we as we can.
Yeah.
The other thing I like, one of the tough things about training is, you have this mix and match. So all of us have gone, had to go some. You tend to get sort of two types of training, right? One is the one where you sit with a bunch of slides or whatever the video thing is, and you've got to kind of go at their pace. And the one thing that I really liked, and it jumped out at me immediately when I was going through yours, is your player is exactly like the iTunes player. I can go ahead 15 seconds, I can go back 15 seconds, I can actually make it run at different faster speeds. So like I listen to podcasts at 2x, and I've kind of gotten used to that. And so there's that nice piece about it where I can make it go as fast as I want. And then the other part that a lot of things fail at is, if you happen to go somewhere, and this was a lot of times back in the days when you were talking about sort of on-prem equipment, the stuff that they would give you to work on was a really small subset. In your case, you're jumping on and you're guiding people through live AWS. So you have as much resources as you want. It's always up to date. So the model that you have is really powerful because it's up to date. You can make it go as fast as you want. You can kind of go through it at the pace that you want. There's no sort of artificial barriers. So that experience is really nice.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, carry on.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, in terms of that whole experience, that's definitely something we've kind of worked on because we realize that all our students learn at different pace. It's something Sam in particular, who's responsible, Ryan's brother, who's responsible for creating that platform. He's kind of championed that a lot, and he's actually responsible for that really nice kind of UI, UX we've got going, and that whole user experience. I think, we do realize all of our students come from different places, so at different levels of experience. So they do want to work at different speeds. And I think the other big thing with the courses, we actually insist students get their own AWS accounts, where there's other courses out there where a temporary environment will be created and then destroyed afterwards. And there's a difference. If you got your own account, you can then go and play with it, and you take Ryan's lesson and you use that as a starting point, not as a be-all and end-all. Like, we actually recommend for every hour of lecture, you should be doing another 4 to 8 hours of work on top of that. So a 10, 11-hour course should actually be 40 to 80 hours of work. And a lot of that work will be, taking what you've learned from Ryan and then trying it out yourself without actually listening to the lectures and that kind of thing. So it's, there's a lot of thought put in behind all of it, to actually not just get people through an exam, but to actually give them skills to actually perform on the job rather than just getting a cert.
I also think, one of the things we deliberately try and do is when you purchase our courses currently under the current revenue model is you own them for life. You don't have to pay a monthly fee to stay subscribed. You purchase the course and that's it. You've got access to it, 365 days a year, and we constantly update it. So as and when AWS, release new features, we'll go in and update those lectures to reflect those new features. And it's important to note that the AWS certifications themselves are only valid for 2 years. So at the end of the 2-year, life cycle, you have to resit the exam if you want to maintain the certificate. And right now, our courses are really great value for money because you pay this one-off, $29 fee, and then potentially in 2 years' time from now, you can just watch the course again, at twice the speed because you probably know half of it if you've already, passed the exam, and just see what's changed in those 2 years, and then go sit the exam again.
Yeah, that's really powerful. So there was a recent survey that came out from a company called Global Knowledge, who's another training company, and basically said, the Amazon, the AWS Certified Solution Architect has now jumped up to being like the #1 paying certification. So ahead of all the traditional vendor ones, the Cisco CCIE, all that stuff. But the other thing, it said there's only, I think you said this in one of your videos, like there's only about 2,000 of those people today that are certified, which, to put it in context, like when I got my CCIE was, 1997, there was around 2,000 at that time as well. So, it's really early days. It's really a good time for people who are looking to make a job change, looking to advance skills. Like, that number is only going to go up in terms of what people are willing to pay for that certification. Like, do you guys have any sense of what the demand looks like? I mean, obviously you guys have a sense of how many people are doing it, but like, how much are you seeing people move from that basic level, the associate level, up to the, certified solutions level? Have you got a sense of how fast that's growing yet?
Yeah, so just so your listeners understand, so there's the associate level, so that's the basic level, and then you have the professional level. And in order to get the professional level, you have to pass the associate level in order to go on to do the professional level. And in terms of the professional level, there is it might be slightly over 2,000 certified solutions architects at a professional level as of today, but it's only like 2,100, 2,200 according to the student feedback that we get. In terms of salary jumps, I mean, Ant, do you want to talk about? We had a student recently just write into us and tell us a very interesting story.
Yeah, so we've actually had a couple of these. So we had a student write in and basically said when he got the solution architect associate, not even the professional, he got a $20,000 a year increase. Purely based on getting that certification, which allowed him to move into a brand new role. And particularly as soon as you get the professional level, then you just become in demand. We had another student write into us and tell us he'd been unemployed. That's one of the other great things our courses being so cheap. It's not going to break the bank. So this guy had been unemployed for about 9 months. He did the Solution Architect Associate and then the professional using our courses as our courses in the AWS white papers as his only form of study. And he says he was basically getting LinkedIn requests twice a day once he got the professional level certification. And he got a job within about 3 weeks of actually getting that certification. So there's definitely huge demand. It does change from market to market. We can definitely see that the US, it's absolutely buzzing right now. You get one of those certifications and you're based in the US, particularly in one of the major centers, you will have people after you. Europe is growing, and Australia is also quite popular, and India. Kind of those are the biggest regions for us, but the US, you will definitely get a lot of attention if you get particularly the professional level certifications.
And what actually drives it is AWS have a partner program, and they have different types of partners. So they've got technology partners and consulting partners. But consulting partners specifically, there's different levels of consulting partner, going from just a registered one all the way up to a premier partner. And in order to be a premier partner, you have to employ a certain number of certified staff, both at an associate and at a professional level. So in order for a business to be listed as a premier partner, they have to have a certain number of people certified to a professional level, and then that drives their demand. So they then will go out and hunt for these people to maintain that sort of partner status. And Amazon themselves are actually lifting it this year to include even more certified people to reach those particular partner levels. So it's just, in my opinion, the demand's just going to keep growing.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And if it's, and if Amazon does, I mean, they're in so many segments of the market now. I mean, you've got data services they do, you've got infrastructure, you've got, developer stuff. I mean, I suspect at some point they will have yet another level where, you specialize in just the data stuff, as opposed to, there'll be like professional, and there'll be maybe like professional data analytics, professional DevOps, professional IoT. And so, getting in on this early is going to be really, really beneficial. So I'll ask one last question to wrap it up, because it's late your guys' time. You're over in the UK. You just talked about partners, AWS partners. What about corporations? Are you seeing people from corporations who say, "Hey, look, can we buy group licensing? We want to do some stuff as a group internal to our company." Are you seeing that interest as well?
Yeah. So we definitely are. So when we decided to create our own platform, the model was always B2C on day one, because the sales cycles are a lot less. We don't really have to prove who we are. Someone will just buy the course, and if it doesn't work, they'll ask for a refund, or they'll carry on. It's not a huge loss. But what we started to see as corporations, it's all driven by individuals who've bought our courses. So it's kind of started off with a lot of AWS partners, but now we're seeing some big corporates coming in, and they're coming in for like 1,000 courses, 2,000 courses, those kind of numbers. So, these are companies that are Fortune 500 level. And it's not a lot, but there are definitely a few, and we just see that growing. So, so we're kind of making a plan. We're busy updating the platform to add more features around that. But we're not letting us stopping from doing those deals. But yeah, it's definitely kind of our next phase will be addressing that market.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, listen, before we wrap it up and go, aside from going to, acloud.guru, and we'll have this in the notes and stuff for people, like, what's the best way if people want to reach out to you? Is it just through the website? Is it through Twitter? What's the best to engage so they don't overwhelm you if they have questions?
Definitely on the website. So we have a whole team behind us on the website. On places like Udemy or my LinkedIn, it's just me. And sometimes, I'll disappear for a few days because I get fed up. but on the website, we have basically a team of staff who are there to answer questions 24/7.
Yeah. No, it's excellent. Aaron and I we were talking about it offline and before. I mean, you do the math. like you said, a course before was going to cost you $1,200, $1,500, pounds or US even, plus your time. This isn't, multiple orders of magnitude less than that. And it's for the, kind of the hottest demand technology in the industry right now. So it's kind of a no-lose situation. It's a win-win. We're really excited you guys are building this. Aaron and I have talked about having these sort of like online labs. We watched our friends who've built, home labs and struggled with them. So super excited that you've built this. And, for anybody out there that's listening, I think you guys are going to love it. The experience is really easy. They do a great job. It's very in depth. We've talked about this a million times. AWS is where a lot of things are going. So definitely go check it out.
Yeah, thanks. I think it's a lot of fun as well. There's nothing like building your own completely resilient WordPress site across multiple regions and then going in and trying to break it and then it, failing over automatically. It is lots of fun. Yeah. You guys would definitely enjoy it.
Very cool. Well, listen, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. Did you have one more thing you wanted to say? Heard you jumping in.
No, I was just going to say, thanks. Also, one of the other things we haven't really mentioned so much is one of the reasons we're able to do things so cheaply is the way we've built our site. So it's completely serverless with a Lambda on the back end. So that's another interesting bit. So we're also going to be releasing a few courses about how we did it and a few blog posts coming on about how we've built the site as well from end to end. So it gives us a massive differentiator from a price perspective.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. We'd love to have you back on once some of that stuff gets out. It was I was at IBM's Interconnect event this week. They announced a serverless events based thing as well. But I talked to 3 or 4 people who said, I've already built a small side business on top of Lambda that just does this and this, and they were super impressed with how simple it is, and like you said, how you can keep the cost down if you're doing things that are static or just specific things you're trying to do. So would love to have you guys back on at some point when you've written it all up and want to talk about it. So
yeah, definitely. Let's get Sam on board because so Sam's a kind of secret weapon. He's an ex-Microsoft developer, decided to leave Seattle, move back to Australia, and he's kind of built the site for us, and that gives us huge differentiation. So definitely get him on board next time.
Very cool. Well, listen, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you for being on. Folks, definitely go check this stuff out. It will be well worth your time. Very, very affordable. You can do it whenever you want. Do it off hours. So for Aaron and for Ant and for Ryan, thanks everybody for listening, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thank you for listening to the Cloudcast. Please visit thecloudcast.net to find more shows, show notes, videos, and everything social media.